Welcome to the video lecture on mixed quantifiers. So here what we're going to start doing is looking at how we can represent different kinds of information by combining the universal and the existential quantifiers in the same sentence. And the way that we're going to do this is by using an example of a predicate that has a particular type of direction, which is the liking predicate. So what I'm going to do here is use a particular, just an arrow to indicate that, that there's a certain direction. So if I have, say, A, arrow B, in this case, what I'm saying is that A likes B. So that's the convention that we're going to use for this. So you'll notice in the four sentences that I have that we're going to illustrate that I've got the same predicate, and what I've done is in two of the cases, so from 1 to 2, all I've swapped out is the position of the x and the y variables right in here. And then what I've done in 3 and 4 is swapped out the positions of the quantifiers. And we'll see how that plays a role in interpreting what these sentences are saying. So let's start with the first one. The first one has the universal quantifier first, and then the existential quantifier. So this is saying that everybody likes someone. Right? We're not saying that it's a specific person that everybody likes. We'll see how to express that in a moment. This is just saying that everybody has an outward arrow from them. So to make one true, if we have, say, 3 objects, A, B, and C, then as long as someone has an arrow going out of them, right, that they like some person, then that will be true. So maybe A likes C, B likes C, and C likes themselves. That would mean, right, that one is true. If we go through the domain, does A like somebody? Yes, that's got an outward arrow. Does C like somebody? Yes, himself. Does B like somebody? Yes. Okay, so that means 1 is satisfied in this particular example. Let's compare that with 2. You'll notice that the main difference is the position of the x and the y. Here, y is in the first argument position and x is in the second argument position. So think of this difference as just being whether you have an arrow going out or if you've got an arrow coming in. In 2, it's saying that everybody has an arrow coming in from somewhere. So, or in other words, that everybody is liked by somebody. Right? That's the main difference between 1 and 2. So 2, if we'll use a double arrow to indicate that we're over here. Again, if I've got 3 objects, A, B, and C, then as long as every individual has an arrow coming in, then 2 is made true. So A is liked by C, B is liked by A, and C is liked by themselves. So notice that satisfies number 2, but 1 is actually false here, right? So 2 is true in this scenario, but 1 is false. And the reason why 1 is false is because not everybody has an outward arrow, right? B does not like anybody. While in this first scenario, we have 1 is true, but 2 is false. So that illustrates how the universal quantifier out front signals that every object in the domain has to bear some type of relation to at least one thing. And that relation might be outward or might be incoming, right? It depends a little bit on what the predicate is. And in this case, we used likes. Let's compare that now to sentences 3 and 4. And the key difference between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, you'll notice, is that now we've changed the order of the quantifiers. Here we've got the existential up front, and then we've got the universally quantified sentence. Here, we're saying that there's at least one individual that bears a relationship to everything, not everything else, because we're saying everything, including itself. So 3, I sometimes call this like the mom sentence. Mom likes everybody. Not nom, mom. There we go. So if we have 3 objects like we've had before, right, we're saying there's at least one individual that bears a relation to everything, including themselves. So 3 is made true by the fact that here A likes everybody. Notice how that differs from 1, right? 1 says everybody likes someone, while 3 says there's at least one individual that likes everybody, including themselves. Contrast that now with 4. I'm hoping that you'll see how the relationship between 1 and 2 will be the same as the relationship or the transition from 3 to 4. Right? The key difference here is rather than being there at least one individual that likes everyone, this is now going to be an individual that is liked by everybody. And that has to do with the fact that X is in this receiving position, sort of, right? It's bearing the relationship. It's got the inward arrows coming inward. So 4 is going to be made true in a world where there's at least an individual that is liked by everybody else. So notice the difference between like 3 and 4 is like changing the direction of all the arrows, right? Rather than the arrows going outward, one individual liking everybody, now it's everybody liking that unique individual, right? So the difference between 3 and 4 just has to do with where the position of the variable x is, and the argument position for that predicate. Okay, so that gives you a feel or some concrete examples of how mixing the order of the quantifiers and changing the positions of the variables can actually express some really important information. So be careful when you're interpreting quantifiers. So the order in which they appear matters.